welcome back to the channel. So this is something new. Thought I'd try this, see how it goes. It's a real-time oil change on the Mark 1 Golf. So I'd love to hear in the comments what you think, whether you think this works or indeed not, whether you hate it, whether you love it, let me know. Okay, so we bought this Mark 1 Golf recently, as you well know, and it needs an oil change before we go too far in it. We have no idea what the service was like in its former life with its previous owners, so it makes sense to do some routine maintenance before you go too far. Okay, so 19mm socket is what we used, or what I used here to get the sump plug out. Then realised after loosening it that actually it's quite stiff throughout the whole thread, and so I'll need to use the ratchet spanner for ratchet and socket for removing the sump plug. Thankfully it's not cross-threaded, so it does come out okay. You can see above there, looks like we've got some oil seepage from somewhere further up. I don't think it's a sump gasket leaking, although there's a lot of sealant around that, and so at some point I'm going to have to take that off, clean it up, fit a new sump gasket, who knows, maybe a new sump. Hopefully we'll be able to reuse that one. But okay, so sump plug's out. I hadn't started the engine, hadn't run it to warm it up, so the oil's quite cold, although it wasn't too cold today. I think it's around about 15 degrees centigrade Celsius. So oil's pouring out nicely into this huge tray that I've got just for this purpose, kindly donated by a neighbour who used to work for an injection moulding company. This was a reject, so he brought it over, and it's absolutely perfect for doing oil changes, as long as you can fit it between the wheels. So yeah, we gonna let the oil drain out here, and we probably won't get it all, just because A, there's no engine flush, and B, I haven't warmed the engine up, so it's cold, as I said before. But as you can see, oil's looking pretty grimy, pretty filthy. Definitely in need of a change. Well, we come to the top of the engine now, and time to remove the oil filter. This thing looks like it's been on since new. I don't think it has, but it's certainly been on there for quite a while, which suggests that maybe this hasn't had an oil change in quite some time. I think it was last on the road in around 2019, just before the big event, by the looks of it. And I think this oil filter had been on for a considerable period before that, but still came off pretty easy. Not too much dirt and filth around the interface there. You can see down the bottom there's a nice blue glove tied on the water pump. That's just to stop it dripping water out all over the garage floor. Yeah, so that's what's going on here. I bought my oil and filter from OP Oils down in Cornwall. They're not a sponsor, it's just they've got great service, they've got great selection of oil filters, service kits, that sort of thing, and their deliveries rapid and reliable, so I tend to use them. Used to use the big high street store with the orange logo. Anybody in the UK will know who that is. but they are less good, I've found over the years. And so OP oils do pretty much one thing, which is service kits and oil for your car, and so they tend to do that better. Also, they supplied a nice Febby Bilstein oil filter, which is a reasonable brand, I think. Just checking here to make sure that they're the same size before we try and screw them on while I've still got the old one, just in case. Nice thumbs up, thanks Neil. And a little bit of clean motor oil on a clean glove just to wipe around that top oil seal before we put it on. I'll also tend to fill up the oil filter. Now this is more difficult if you've got an oil filter that's either upside down or it's at 90 degrees and on its side, because it'll tend to pour out as you try and put it on. But this one's pretty vertical, and so I thought, well, I'll fill the oil filter up, and it gives it a bit of a head start to rebuilding oil pressure once you start the engine again. That's what my dad always taught me anyway. Get that first thread on. Looks like I've spilled a little bit of oil down the side of the canister there. Shouldn't be too much of a problem though. Don't know if that dipstick top there is original. I mean, this car's from 1990, and I only seem to recall like bright plastic dipsticks in the noughties, so I don't know if it's had a new one. Perhaps somebody can tell me in the comments. Somebody out there will know more about this than me. Give it a wipe. And just a final tweak up, hand tight only for your oil filter. Saves you having to ram a screwdriver through it later on to get it back off to replace it. Back down to the oil pan now. As you can see, it's not really finished stopping dripping, but yeah, we need to get the sump plug back in for the sake of time, and fresh oil is better than the old oil, even if there is still a bit of old oil left behind, so no worries. You can see the classic blue glove reliability there, nice hole in it. It's pretty standard whenever you do anything with these things. Sump plug's a bit chewed up. Yes, I have reused the same crush washer. No, it's not recommended, but I didn't get one with a kit, and I wasn't going to put off doing the job just for that. As you can see later on, spoiler alert, we don't get any leaks from the sump plug, so it's all good. Don't forget, 19mm socket is what I used on this one. Because that sump plug's a little bit chewed up, maybe you might get away with an 18mm. That might be more suitable, but the 19 does the job, and it doesn't need to be super tight. Again, a little bit of a new approach for me this. Doing a voiceover after the fact, sitting here watching the video and trying to figure out what to say over the top. So again, let me know what you think. Does it work? Does it work for you? Too much talk? I've been asked in the comments recently to do more commentary and less music, so I'm trying that out here. Back up to the top of the engine now. There's the timing belt. That's definitely going to need a change, but that's not for this video. In we go with our stubby funnel. This one I picked up from the local Motor Factors Chopra. Shout out to Nidge. He's a good guy. Always looks after me when I need parts. So I think I'm putting in about 3.5 litres initially, and then checking on the dipstick, trying to pour it directly down the funnel hole. It's a nice fat funnel hole. That sounds terrible, but it is, which means that it doesn't back up with viscous fluids like oil. So it's a pretty good one. You can see it's made by Draper, also not a sponsor. You can even see the model number down there, I think, if you look closely. It's a pretty good funnel, although it's not got a very long spout on it, so if you're trying to hang the spout in something, it's not going to stay. But for this job, it's almost ideal, really. You can see our fresh fuel filter down there that we fitted when we were getting the engine running initially. And you can see I'm missing the clip on the airbox as well. I have to see if I can find one of those. Yeah, so once we've put about 3.5 litres in, just checking the dipstick, seeing yes, definitely needs a little bit more, but it's easier to put more in than it is to take it out. I think we then put about another 0.5 litre in or something like that. I don't know exactly what the volumes are for oil in this thing. I just kind of did it as I went along. Done so many oil changes on so many cars now. Yeah, get somewhere close and then sneak up to it. I guess I should really got a video checking the dipstick as well, but I got the camera nicely mounted on the filler and yeah, didn't think to replace it, put it in a different place to pick up the dipstick, so sorry about that. So there we go, oil levels right now, so we'll pull out the funnel, give it a wipe, clean it up and pop in the filler cap. Again, doing this in real time to give you an idea of how long it takes to do an oil change on a Mark 1 Golf, and the answer to which is actually not very long. As long as you've got somewhere to do it and all of your tools ready, all of your components ready, oil, filter, all that sort of stuff, really doesn't take very long at all. Definitely a job that pretty much anybody could do DIY. In we go with the filler cap, and time for the first start. So what I'm looking for here is for that flashing oil light there, which is the second one from the left on the top row. Yeah, second one from the top, and it took a couple of cranks, but then the oil light went out pretty sharpish, which shows that we've got oil pressure. That's good. Definitely want that before you start the engine. Checking underneath the car now once it's run, and just want to make sure that we don't have any oil leaks, you know, nothing's pouring out, because then you won't have any oil pressure. Making sure the filter's tight, not dripping, all looks good here, and so yeah, that's pretty much the end. So there you go, in real time. That's how to change the oil on a Mark 1 Golf. I'll put up the total time, or in fact you can look at it down the bottom of the video, but this job is one you can definitely DIY, do it yourself. Just make sure that you get that oil pressure light to stop blinking before you start the engine. So see you on the next one.